Welcome to the BXG podcast, the podcast where pop culture and nerd culture meet at the nexus of the universe and are melded as seamlessly as Wendy's and Pringles. I'm one of your hosts, Brenton Bestwick, alongside my co-host, the Pride of Fredonia. Haven't used that one in a while. Greg
there we go.
Filson. How are you tonight, Greg?
I'm doing all right. We've got the baseball playoffs, got NFL. It's a good sports time of the year. College football. Michigan's still undefeated, which is amazing. So yeah, a lot going on that neck of the woods, and all down to one job, so I can actually watch more of it, which makes me also very happy. How are you, Brenton?
Tired.
Yeah.
That's it. End of discussion.
End of discussion.
Yeah, it's just it was just a real, like, the closest thing to a stressful night of work that I've had, or a stressful week of work that I've had since I started this job, which is a good thing, obviously, but it was kind of a long week, and I'm happy that it's my Friday. The first of two Fridays for me, because I have a 4-day weekend. So just,
nice.
Kind of tired, and
time to relax.
Yeah, time to kick back a little bit. Let's see here. BXG podcast publishes every Friday at 9 a.m. on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, and other podcast services around the globe. This is episode 55. I'm going to try to do a better job of stating the numbered.
Double nickel.
The numbered episodes. This is the Mike Sankey episode. This was 55 was, of course, Mike Sankey's number. Shout out to Mike Sankey.
Did he wear it because of Jason Williams?
He did. Yeah.
There you go.
That's fun. You can follow us on our social medias, the Facebook page for news updates, and you can listen to the podcast over on your mobile devices with the Facebook .com/BXG podcast, the podcast tab. You can follow us on Instagram at BXG podcast, at GT Phils for Greg, at Y2B for me, Brenton, and on Twitter at BXG podcast, GT Philson, and at Y2B. The YouTube channel where you get the a la carte segments, including our discussion last week with Disney travel advisor and co-host of the Dole Whip Dish podcast, Samantha Yates. And there were some developments in the world of Disney here in the last couple of weeks. They're bringing back some of the character meetups, which is one of the topics that we talked about. So that was kind of ironic. But we've got a good show tonight. I think it's going to be a little bit. Last week was like a spiraling pumpkin patch.
Yes.
Use that analogy for last week's episodes.
It was a corn maze we couldn't get out of for a while.
Yeah, it was a bit of a long one. I think this week will be a little bit tighter. It was kind of a slow week for news. And then we have some reviews. We'll finish off Star Wars Visions. We have the What If season finale. We have the challenge, and I think we're gonna maybe do things a little bit differently with the challenge. We also have another food review. You wanted it. You asked for it. It's here. It is. Well, you maybe didn't ask for this, but you asked for more food. Asked for more food reviews. But we do have the Wendy's spicy chicken sandwich Pringle to be reviewed tonight. For me, Greg was not able to find it.
Don't know why. I guess I could have got just a spicy chicken sandwich from Wendy's and reviewed that.
Put some Pringles on it. Damn it. Oh well. Yeah. Well, you live and you learn.
Would have been just like a sandwich with potato chips is a great move. Anyhow.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And we have a trailer. We have a trailer reaction. Tonight, for the House of Dragons, the Game of Thrones spinoff. But we lead with the season finale of the animated anthology, which is kind of a misconstruction. It's not really an anthology, but it is the Marvel's What If. In the season finale, the Watcher recruits the multiverse's mightiest heroes. Iron Man, Apprentice, Eric Killmonger, Star-Lord T'Challa, Thanos Armor Gamora, Party Thor, Black Widow, Creepy Sorcerer Doctor Strange, and Captain Carter to defeat Ultimate Ultron. I don't remember, was there an episode where Gamora wore Thanos' armor and I just like missed it?
I don't remember it.
Okay.
So maybe I thought the exact same thing when I was like, what? But maybe I just missed it. Maybe it just sneakily happened. I'm not sure. It was a good look.
So ultimately, the heroes kind of save the day and so on and so forth. They bring down Ultron, Vision, who has the Infinity Stones, and there's a bit of a hullabaloo with Killmonger. I mean, what with him being a bad guy and all. Arnim Zola, they use the super virus thing from the previous episode to take down the Ultron, the Super Ultron, whatever you want to call him. So put a pin in, I guess, well, first of all, what were your thoughts on the final episode, and then kind of to put a pin on this season as a whole?
I thought the final episode was weird. I didn't hate it. I didn't like it. It was just kind of happened where they did it just to kind of tie everything together. And it made me just think, I'm not sure they knew exactly what they were doing when they started this, but then they decided, let's tie this all together at the end when we really didn't need it. And I thought that was weird. It just, it was just, I was just happy. It sounds really weird. I was just happy it was over. I'm like, okay, if we're not going to create something that's a new storyline every week, which I think would have been cool, and not worry about tying this all together, I think that would have been more interesting. This just seemed, we've said this about just different things in the past, but like this was a definition of like lazy to me, where it's like, let's just bring everybody together and do this, like Avengers Light, characters that you don't really care that much about. And then it's like, we like T'Challa and we like Party Thor.
Yeah.
And, that's kind of it.
Yeah. I think that's probably a great way of kind of summarizing the what if experience. It was so unnecessary to bring, first of all, and we said this before it even started, it was so unnecessary to say that this was canon. It's like, oh, well, we're doing the multiverse now, so this is canon because multiverse. It's like, okay, that wasn't necessary. Number two was, it was highly unnecessary to tie all of this together. It was unnecessary, and you kind of got the sense that that's what was going to happen as they started to leave the endings of the different episodes very open-ended. And I just felt, like you said, I was being honest, I was kind of happy when it was over.
Yes.
It didn't finish strong like the way that the Bad Batch did as far as like animated stuff goes.
Right.
It just kind of went out. Like it just was, okay, this is the end now. And I do think that they kind of like mismarketed it, saying that it was an anthology, because an anthology is something where everything kind of stands on its own. And this was sort of like a hybrid of an anthology and an actual ongoing series. But I felt like what would have been more interesting was kind of what you alluded to, would have been to just leave each week as its own story, rather than tie everything together to almost force like a happy ending. Right. And we like made the joke a few weeks ago that this show should be called What If Sadness. And I almost feel like it would have been better if they just would have kind of held on to that. You know what I mean? Like,
I think it would have been fine
with a few fun episodes.
Yeah.
Like Party Thor or whatever. And Captain Carter was fun. Like looking back on it, I remember when we started this and the series started, I was like, oh man, Captain Carter was kind of it wasn't that great, but it was probably best that they started off with one that wasn't going to be super awesome. And it ended up probably being one of the better episodes, honestly.
Yeah, it definitely did. I think my thing would have been too, like these episodes that they left open where we're like, uh-oh. I think all those episodes could have just been left open and not
Yeah,
need a tie. You know what I mean? Like, who
right.
cares? If you've read comic books, like there's a lot of just open, not every comic book series even has like a real definitive ending. It just kind of
Right.
is like, well, this is kind of left to see what happens. And I think we would have been all right if like all 10 episodes or whatever would have been a to be continued thing. And you just don't know. And
Right.
you move on to the next week and it's a to be continued or whatever. And it's it may not be to be continued in this. And if this is canon, then you can come back to it in a later season or something like that. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it just felt weird. It felt rushed. I think is actually where I probably meant more than anything is it just felt like, oh, we have to put this together and we have to tie it up and it has to be 10 episodes. And it was this weird thing where you're like initially you're appealing to the Marvel fan base, like actual Marvel fan base by doing a what if series. And then you're almost appealing to people that just were like in it for just the movies and never read a comic book or anything like that. And I thought that was weird. It was a little too people pleasing for my liking.
Yeah. And I think too, they focused solely on, well, I would say, okay, so let me back up. There were pros and cons, right? The pros being, by and large, they got the actual actors to reprise their roles of the, doing the voice work. Pro number two, and I think that we can agree on this the whole way through, was the animation was pretty good. It was interesting. It was, it was a mixture of like a little bit of CG, a little bit of like cell shading. It looked different. And that was appealing because it didn't look like that sort of like overemphasized Toy Story like CG that you get from like the Bad Batch and the Clone Wars and stuff like that on the Star Wars side. But then it also wasn't just like a straight cartoon. So the animation was different, and it was, in my opinion, visually appealing. The other thing, and I guess this could go either way, a pro or a con, was that they kind of focused on characters who were not the main character. I mean, how many times through the 9-episode arc did Tony Stark die?
Right.
You know what I mean? And so like that was maybe a little bit refreshing because it could have been very easy to just make more Tony and Cap stories, but they did a good job, I think, of staying away from that. But then that is like the flip side of that was it in the last episode, you bring this sort of like very awkwardly thrown together mixture of characters. And it's like you said, it was rushed in the sense that there was no real emotional payoff. It's like, oh, we kind of like Captain Thor or Captain Carter. We like Party Thor. This Doctor Strange is creepy and weird. We don't really like him. Killmonger's basically the same character that he was in the movie. Star-Lord T'Challa is kind of a bit goofy, whatever. It just felt like you said, it felt kind of rushed and like they wanted you to really care, and they wanted you to care about the Watcher and everything. It was just like,
Yeah. I think just like my thing on like the pros cons was I agree with your pros. I would say like my biggest con with this was like why did they pick the characters they picked? I think was actually one of those like weird things to me, to be the characters that you wanted to care about when there's still like other characters in the MCU that people like. And maybe you're, it's cool to have the characters' voices and everything, but you could have just had characters that weren't in these movies that are still part of the universe. And I think that might have helped it a little bit more too, for me, where it's just like, we've seen these characters. So something new would have been, there just wasn't anything new.
And they've said that season 2 will focus, which we're getting to season 2 of this.
Of course we are.
It's going to focus on the what if for phase 4. So we're going to get Shang-Chi, we're going to get the Eternals, we're going to get, Moon Knight and She-Hulk and all this stuff, which is fine. But like, I don't know that I need another season of this.
I'm good without it.
Yeah.
What do you grade this?
Like the season or the final episode?
I would just do season. I think honestly, the final episode is almost like the same grade for me.
Yeah, it's like
with the season.
It's like a 5 out of 10.
I was gonna say mine was gonna be like the most C grade you could ever have.
I wouldn't even
Like,
say C. It's like a C minus. It's like
it's just
barely
like-
not a D. It's like barely not a D.
Maybe that's what I mean. Like the lowest C you can have would still be like passable. Yeah.
Yeah. It would, yeah.
So-
It just got like more. Whereas towards the end of, and I know it's apples to oranges a little bit, but like towards the end of Bad Batch, I was like, oh man, I can't wait for the next episode because it was really picking up steam.
Mhm.
It got to almost be like a labor of love. I'm like, oh God, I have to watch What If. You know what I mean? Like it was almost like I wasn't looking forward to it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so that was kind of a bummer, but you know.
Once we realized it was tied together, that's when I started feeling less excited.
I think it was. Yeah. I think for me it was after Zombies.
Okay.
Because then after Zombies was like.
Zombie Wanda showed up in this too. We forgot about that quick little mention. That was very weird.
Yeah, after Zombies, because like Zombies was. It was not really well received in terms of like its episode rating, like across the internet, but it was actually one of my more favorite episodes because it was so tropey in terms of like horror movies. And it was almost like you got a horror movie in 25 minutes. And I actually really liked it. I thought it wasn't original by any stretch of the imagination, but it was at least kind of like, I don't know, mildly interesting, I guess is the word I would use. But
I agree with that.
After that, and then when it just started getting like more and more dire, like the Doctor Strange episode made me like really depressed afterwards.
Well, yeah.
And I think I said when we reviewed it, I just wasn't in the right headspace to watch this. But that was just like the rest of the series. It was just like, oh God. And then Party Thor kind of like picked things up a little bit. That was a little bit better.
Yeah, it was better.
But then, meh.
Yeah.
I think that's just the definition of this whole season. It was just meh.
Meh. Yeah. We'll move on to another Disney Plus program. And we'll go into Star Wars Vision and
an actual anthology.
An actual anthology, standalone episodes that are different. And I guess how we'll do is I'll name the episodes and then we'll go episode by episode. So we had The Elder, which was done by Trigger Inc., also did Twins. Lop and Ocho, which was done by Geno Studio. And Akira, I think I'm saying that wrong. Akira. I'm not sure how you say that. That was weird for me to even look at when I saw this. So anyhow, by Science Saru.
Akakiri.
Akakiri. That was just weird for me. Novel for Adventure Time also produced Toby. So I guess we'll start I'll start with this, Brendan. You know, what was your overall impression on these last three here?
So it's not meant to be watched in thirds like the way we've done it.
No.
It's just that we did it this way to kind of make it a little bit more palatable to try to watch these rather than just sit down and watch them. So I'm going to start.
I think we did the right thing, by the way.
Yeah, I think so too. It would have been different if we were like IGN or Nerdist or something and we needed to shit out a review like the day of or whatever. But so
also we've been getting paid to do it.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. We're not. Yeah. With that being said, so I think that when people think of anime, they think like the first thing, you're not an anime guy. So when I say anime, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Probably Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah. Okay. So Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, stuff like that, crazy like power-ups and like characters like that. These sort of like childlike heroes sort of thing that you get with like Goku and Naruto and stuff like that. And I think that that's what most people think of. But for me, and what made me kind of fall in love with the medium were more adult-based anime shows. Cowboy Bebop, Trigun,
Mhm.
Samurai Champloo, even Evangelion. And these last three episodes really reminded me of those shows.
Yeah. Oh
They
yeah.
really reminded me of Trigun. They really reminded me of Bebop from an animation standpoint, but also the stories were a little bit more mature. I would say The Duel still is my favorite, and it was the
Yes.
first episode, and
Yeah.
it was my favorite of the series. But these three probably slot in 3, 4, and 5, or I'm sorry, 2, 3,
Two,
4,
three.
respectively.
Same.
I
Yeah.
felt the Elder, it just reminded me so much of, like I said, Bebop, Trigun, Evangelion, those shows. And I thought it was really well done. The story was interesting and so on. Lope and Ocho, at first, like when I saw the splash screen of it, I was like, I don't want to watch this. This looks fucking lame.
Right.
But then
Yeah.
when I watched it, I was like, this again, same thing. It felt like an Evangelion thing. And the cool thing about that, and this is my opinion, and I think that some people might take a completely 180-degree opinion, especially of this episode. You could have showed me that episode and I wouldn't have known it was a Star Wars thing, save for the fact that at the end she had a lightsaber and they were
Yes.
fighting on a Star Destroyer.
Yeah.
Outside of that, it could have been an episode of like Mobile Suit Gundam, and I wouldn't have known the difference. Akakiri was the weakest of the three episodes for me of these three, but I still felt like it was probably one of the better episodes as a whole. So that's kind of where I was at. Like I said, I really liked The Elder. It was probably my second favorite short of the whole run, and then honestly, Lope and Ocho was probably third favorite.
I've had the exact same thoughts. I actually thought of Cowboy Bebop when I was watching Elder. I was just like, whoa, this is like that. I said that out loud to myself while watching it by myself. I'm like, this reminds me of Cowboy Bebop. This is very cool. And like, I just feel like these episodes were more, and I say this in like, and I mean, they weren't necessarily for like Star Wars fans. These were more for anime fans.
Yeah,
and
I think so.
you still when the Lobo Nocho wasn't a Star Wars movie or a Star Wars thing until it was.
Right.
But like when I'm watching, like, well, there's nothing. But this is also our thing on just the Star Wars as a whole. You don't have to be Luke Skywalker and have lightsabers. You can still be a Star Wars thing. And I think that was like a perfect example of that, where, you know, at the end, yes, we realize it's Star Wars if you've never seen it, but the story was still cool. I still really liked it. I mean, we're putting it as our third favorite overall episode of this. And we saw a lightsaber for, you know, how many seconds? I mean, it was just like one of those things. And so, and yeah, like the third one was good. But I feel the same way. It's like third on this, fourth overall.
Yeah, I might put Village Bride ahead of. I know you didn't like it as much.
It's between that and not the Village Bride, but the other one in that group we watched last week that I really liked. My brain just stopped on it, but it was still good enough.
The Ninth Jedi. That was a good one too.
The Ninth Jedi.
Yeah. So overall, what did you think? 9 shorts from different anime studios, different take, different feel. You know, what did you?
I would say based on expectations to what it actually was, this is like an 8 or 9 out of 10, based purely on like, I didn't know. And, you know, you just don't know what direction people are going to go. If it's going to be too Star Warsy. I thought this was like almost like they nailed it with that thing that we talk about with Star Wars, where, you know, it doesn't need all these other characters. It doesn't need all the main people that you always think of. It can be its own thing. But at the end, I always felt like it was still Star Wars. And, you know, it was still what, you know, originally Star Wars was supposed to be about, was like good versus bad.
Right.
And the fine line of that. And you don't even know a lot of the times. And just it you know, so 9 out of 10 on expectations, I would say probably like on just grading it as it is, probably like a 7 out of 10, because there were episodes I just didn't like, I just thought were fine. And some of them were a little long. And that was maybe my main.
That was the only like downside about Lope and Ocho was it was a little, it got a little longer.
It was like 24 minutes or something.
Yeah,
it was long. But other than that, I think like, you know, and I think 7 out of 10, you know, I know that's like a C grade, you know, I'm like, but based on the fact that this could have gone anywhere, like it could have been a 3 out of 10, I think, with something like this, where you're just kind of letting people do their own thing. And for it to be a 7 out of 10, I hope they do more of these. I think that could be, I'm okay with them doing more of them. I'm okay with it, unlike What If.
Right. And I think that this, well, and we said this, and I said that I'd like to check out the novel based on the duel. I think that there were enough episodes, at least 4 or 5, where you wanted to spend more time learning about that particular setting.
Yep.
And for me, being an anime fan, no brainer that this worked for me. But I think for somebody who's not really an anime fan, or not as much of an anime fan, such as yourself, that you liked it is a good sign. And it makes me crave, like this was like a tryout, right? And some of these studios, like these studios, they're not super well known. Like imagine Studio Ghibli and Miyazaki getting his hands on Star Wars. You know what I mean? I would love a Miyazaki Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
the
guy who did Princess Mononoke and Spirited Away, like give him the keys to that kingdom and see what he can come up with. You know what I mean? And so like that would be really, I think, really cool and really unique. And I do think that I think whereas Marvel has to be very specifically curated, and with the way that everything's done very intentionally, everything connects, everything has to have meaning, which is kind of good and bad, right? We've talked about that. But I think that Star Wars, you can't manage the same way. It's literally, it's a galaxy far, far away, right?
Yeah.
So you kind of need to let that garden like sprawl a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think that that's what they did with this. And I would like to see more of that. There's an entire galaxy for you to explore. Just do it. You know what I mean? Like, and there's no parameter. This shows you that you can make something that is original, cool, has the elements that you know that it's Star Wars, but it's not suffering from small world syndrome with all those familiar characters, and still be good. So, you know, open it up a little bit more to these stories. And I think that they kind of saw that with The Mandalorian, because it wasn't that whole small world thing. I mean, you got more cameos, especially in the second season, but I think that that's what they need to do, is they just kind of like need to just kind of let the vines grow a little bit.
I think, I mean, my thought on this would be like, I hope that they're just paying attention to that. And like, that's how they kind of look at this going forward is, it's okay to sprinkle characters that we love in, but they don't need to be the focus.
Right.
I mean,
as long as one of those characters is Bib Fortuna.
As long as it's Bib Fortuna. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I'm okay with that too.
Yeah. So we'll move from one galaxy far, far away to another galaxy.
Yes.
And that is MTV's The Challenge: Spies, Lies, and Allies. So I've been thinking very deeply about our coverage of The Challenge, as you may refer to it as. And I think that, you know, last season we jumped in. It was, you know, you and I have watched The Challenge. We are veterans of viewing The Challenge. And we just kind of jumped in head first without any giving real context to what the hell this show is and why we're excited about it. And it's probably a little bit late in the game, especially a season and a half into The Challenge per our podcast. But I do think that it might not be a bad idea to, first of all, give a little bit of background on what The Challenge is, how we both got into it and why people should check it out before we get into the actual breakdown of the episode.
Sure. Well, I mean, I got into it because I love the Real World.
Right.
And so they used to have this show called Road Rules too.
Correct.
And they would take people from both these shows and put them in another house together and have them do, not, I hate to say similar challenges to these because they weren't. They were very minimal, low
intensity,
not a lot of money at stake. I mean, like literally it was like, you probably should just have a job and not do this because you're not really, and it became, it built up and it was still Real World people and Road Rules people for a while. And then they started taking like people that are just fresh. And the part of the series was a fresh meat series. Yep. Yeah. So it was just people who auditioned for, basically it was the same people that auditioned for those two shows, but they just didn't get picked for those two shows, but MTV saw potential and that brought in a lot of other characters. Now, our favorite characters were all from the Real World. CT, Wes, and Johnny Bananas. All had Real World appearances. And if you go back in time, like Paula, was also in the Real World.
Yeah. Leroy,
Nani,
all those folks.
And so these are, all MTV mainstays. I hate to say it this way, but MTV property too. I mean, these were just people that people knew from previous things. And, Road Rules slowly faded away. Right. Which I actually really liked Road Rules. And
yeah, me too.
That was weird.
When it was on, I honestly liked it more than Real World.
What was funny is those shows bounced between each other. So it's like when Road Rules was over, Real World would start up. So I was just excited for both. I don't know if I really had a favorite. I just really liked them both. And so eventually we got to what the challenge is today, which is all those old characters from those shows now mixed with other people from other reality shows across the world. And, for better or worse, that's what these shows are now. And I think one of the main reasons is just to get different viewers, to get your Big Brother viewers, to get your,
Survivor,
Love Island,
whatever,
Survivor, all that kind of stuff. And TJ Lavin has basically been there since the beginning. He wasn't there for the beginning of this. There was another person that did action sports, and I cannot think of his name. Mosley, yes. Yeah. He did it, and he was a good host too, actually. But TJ is the king of kings when it comes to these things. And so it's become this, which is a lot of money.
A lot of money.
A lot of money. And I don't mean just the prize money. I mean, they're traveling these people all over the world. It used to just be like, someone's backyard and stuff. I mean, it really looked like
on
that.
A beach. Now, it was usually on the beach.
Right. Yeah. And so it was, the finances have really changed. You would definitely argue it's, MTV's, it's probably one of MTV's top 3 most popular shows, with, I think still like the teen mom shows do really well. And probably some like something I don't really know is probably up there, but this is definitely it's been around forever now. So the fact that we've been watching
this is season 35, I think.
Yeah. So
it's
been around for a while. They usually do 2 seasons a year. So just like Survivor, I think those 2 seasons a year too.
Correct. Yeah.
And so that brings us to where we're at now, with a bunch of people from that, if you followed this show, and then a bunch of people that if you followed other shows, or maybe don't know at all because they're like in Slovenia or something.
But this show has it's spun off some pretty big people. Mike the Miz obviously started off on Real World. I think he was on a Real World, right? And then he's a multiple time challenge champion, and he's gone on to be a WWE champion multiple time over. The Miz, big, he's a pretty big deal and he's headlined some like big pay-per-views and stuff. I'm not sure if he was on Tough Enough or not, which was another kind of reality thing. Johnny Bananas, who is now he has the First Look travel show, which airs after Saturday Night Lives, and then he's also part of the Ringer reality podcast network with his podcast, Death, Taxes, and Bananas. So, and, there's been some other people who've kind of spun out to do sort of different things in various ways. But, I think at the beginning, when it was still pretty new, when you and I got into it, it was very much like you said, it was an extension of the real world. You know what I mean? The real world and road rules were kind of the mainstays. And then the challenge was just sort of let's put these people together in a house and have them compete for but it's really just an extension of those shows. And as the challenge became more popular, then those shows kind of switched roles and became sort of the feeder program to the challenge. And you still had, people, I think when it started, you came for the drama, you came for the fights, you came for the random hookups with strangers out in the world. You came for the shenanigans, right? Because it was just like watching the real world, but instead of there being a cast of 5, it was like a cast of 20.
Right.
And then and we kind of talked about this in one of the episodes, as liability increased, some of those fun outings into the community decreased, as well as COVID, obviously, for the last 2 seasons. But they had even started that before COVID, and it became more serious. Before you had the people who were just there to drink and hang out and hook up and whatever. And now you see they take this seriously, like it's a job. They're training. There's weightlifting rooms and stuff that was never there at the beginning.
Oh my God. The only thing they were lifting was slices of pizza and beer in the early episodes. Yeah.
So, you still get a little bit of the drama. You still get a little bit of the drunk, a little bit with the hookups. You still get a little bit with the fighting. Obviously, it's always been a rule to never put your hands on another competitor, and that will get you kicked off the show. And that's happened. Happened this season even. But, I think it's become less of an extension of the real world and become its own competition type thing in the same vein as Survivor. I still come for the characters, because even some of the new people that we've talked about, and we rip on them a lot on this podcast, but it makes me wonder, and that's why I would love to get somebody from the show on, is how much of a character are they playing versus how much are they actually being themselves. We give Fessy a hard time a lot, but he's kind of embraced that role of being the villain. You know what I mean? And so I kind of as much as we give him crap, but I show up to see him because he's embraced that role of being the villain. You know what I mean?
I want him on every season. I mean, we make fun of him, but I love to see when he's on. I want him to be on the show every year.
Yeah, I want him. I want Fessy. I want Josh. I want Kyle. I want Corey. I want Nelson. I want, and then obviously the older players that we've really grown up with, CT, Bananas, Wes. You want those guys. Those are the guys I want. I don't need Gabo. No offense to him. You know what I mean?
Right.
But he's just not as interesting. So that's kind of it's not really an elevator pitch unless we're on an elevator to the top of the Empire State Building. But that's sort of the pitch as to what this show is and why you should maybe get into it. And it is a little probably late in the game for this season, but again, next season and that sort of thing. But we will move on to, and the other thing that I want to spend more time on is actually breaking down some of the strategy or some of the politics of the game, rather than just saying well, such and such is a moron. Well, why are they a moron? You know what I mean? Aside from maybe what is the obvious, but in this week's episode, we get an old-fashioned mud pit brawl for the daily challenge. Players need to wrestle their soccer ball. I'm just calling them soccer balls because that's what they are.
Yeah,
they're not bombs.
They weren't bombs. No,
they're not bombs. They have to wrestle their soccer balls away from other teams, and the first team to collect a special ball wins. Corey passes the special ball to rookie Jeremiah, and Josh immediately assumes correctly. The Corey is working with the rookies. The House vote comes down to Corey and Bettina versus Ashley and Ed. Corey and Bettina are voted in the agency, which is Logan and Nani, who won that challenge somehow. Throw in Jeremiah and Amber. The elimination will see teams scramble across an unbalanced balance beam and then solve a puzzle. Corey and Bettina are able to figure out a more efficient way to get across the balance beam after Amber and Jeremiah gas out and are unable to complete the challenge. Bettina is able to solve the puzzle and take the win.
So did I hear Corey say correctly they were here for 3 hours on that final thing?
Did you? I don't.
I feel like he said, well,
did you really?
I think I heard him say that we've been here for 3 hours and it's good to like finish this off. If they literally, and I don't care so much about them having to do that for 3 hours, if the other people had to stand there and watch that for 3 hours, good. Oh my God, may God have mercy on their souls. That was incredible. I was getting annoyed watching it for 10 minutes and I was just like 30 minutes or 3 hours. I don't know. My thing is, I don't know if it was like from the time they got voted in till that, which that could be 3 hours. I don't know. But if it was just that competition,
if I can find that out. I'll see.
As I didn't have time to rewind it because I always watch this right before I go into work. So it's like I'm on the press on that one. But yeah, that was, I thought this was, you and I have talked about classic episodes. I thought this was a pretty good classic episode where you get, a mud pit challenge, shenanigans about, no one, like, it wasn't a fair win at the end for that.
It was negotiated.
Right. And which is part of the game. And then, a pretty decent challenge to end everything, elimination challenge to kind of, it was new. It was difficult. It really tests the limits of people. It was one of those things where you have like a competition where both people have to work together and then there's a puzzle. The puzzle you need to work together on, but the actual getting to the puzzle pieces in place, in the spot, that was definitely a good. So if you just started watching Challenge and you go back and watch this one, this is actually a pretty solid episode to kind of catch everything that this show's about.
Yeah, it lacked in, I would say, the only place it really lacked in was like because this is what we come to see is the drunk fights. Like that,
yes.
Like to me, that's always the main thing that I want to see. That's why I'm so bummed that Camilla's not allowed to be on the show anymore. She's not allowed to be on the show anymore.
Right. Yeah.
She, I think I read somewhere that on one of those weird like challenge, like champs versus pros or whatever shows. You remember that they did a couple seasons of those? She like stole a golf cart. She got drunk and stole a golf cart and like ran.
That sounds about right.
Wrecked it. And then like assaulted a security guard or something. So she's just not allowed on.
She was insane.
But
she was insane.
And that's the thing is, you get the blow ups and they're usually over dumb stuff, as we've said, such as this season's blow up that got Fessy deactivated was over a pizza, right? That's usually what they're over. So you missed that. That was really the only thing that you didn't get in this particular episode. The challenge, the daily was a good one. I'm always disappointed when there's a mud challenge and CT doesn't almost kill someone.
Yeah.
Last season we got the good mud pit challenge and he nearly drowned Nom, which was, bad for Nom, great for the entertainment value.
We're here for the entertainment value.
But I think you're always looking for CT to just kind of like murder someone in that scenario, but he didn't even make it out of the first round.
So he wasn't even trying though.
It didn't. It seemed like he was coasting a little bit. And there is sort of it's out there in the ether of we want a vet who's not a champion to win. So the easy targets, and this is where the whole strategy thing comes into play. The easy targets are Ashley, who has 2 challenge wins in the same way that Charlie Batch has a Super Bowl ring. Does he have a Super Bowl ring?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. Or, to quote my man Hannibal Buress, the same way Jawan Howard has an NBA title. Whatever, Brian Scalabrine, whatever comparison you want to make. And Amber, who kind of also in the same boat. And we'll kind of maybe we'll get to the girls thing. Nobody's going to take that shot at CT. Like if you take that shot at CT, even at this sort of stage in the game, and I will say that we're probably guilty of hero worship a little bit of CT, but nobody is going to take that shot at him. You know what I mean?
It's taking a shot at like Jordan in that Wizard playoff series or the Bullets playoff series where like, oh, I really got you there. And then Jordan came out and put like 40 up on a half. You know, if you're going to come at CT, you got to cut the head off, or the next time you're done.
You have to be sure that you're going to win.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're honestly their best option to try to get rid of CT is to literally vote him in every time.
Yeah.
That's it. And just hope one of the times it happens.
He like sprains a knee or something. You know, I mean, it sounds morbid, but it's just, it literally comes to something like that, because especially with what we have left, and we've discussed this with different things, but like Corey is a prime example. Corey is a physical specimen, but he can't do a puzzle to save his life.
By his own admission.
And, Devin's very good at puzzles, but you can't imagine Devin beating CT in a physical thing. There's just no way. Yeah, no physical way. I mean, Devin is a smart guy. He knows how to play the game. And like he even said in the mud challenge, like the second this thing gets physical, I run away. You know, it's just like one of those things. I'm not going to get hurt. But CT is like, the second this thing gets physical, if it actually does and it's needed, I will blow everyone out of the water, is basically where it's at. So,
So it's going to come down to who CT is paired with in a elimination. Like they could hurt his chances pretty significantly by putting him with a weak girl for he would have to be the agency vote. He can't be the house vote, because as we've discussed, I think Emmy's a pretty tough out on the girl side, especially when she's like getting coached up by him. And that's the other thing is he gasses people up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He
gets a lot more out of people than anyone realizes.
Now, that kind of goes against him sometimes too. But I mean, we saw him last season with Big T. You know, he gassed her up and she was able to do things that she wasn't able to do. And I mean, granted, she had to be brave. But she was, and a lot of it had to do with him. But the thing about the girls is you're very rarely, I think, outside of a few notable exceptions, when you're running a paired final, you're just looking for a girl who's not going to be a complete anchor. You know what I mean? I mean, outside of maybe like Laurel and Cara in the history of this show, Paula, maybe Sarah. You're looking for people who aren't going to hold you back. And so that's where you need somebody with good endurance, which was Amber last season, or somebody who can do puzzles. And Ashley's good at puzzles. And so, but that's that sort of thing where, I feel like Ashley feels like she should get more respect than she does. And maybe she should, but I think that when it comes to like eliminations, like nobody's afraid to go down there against her. Unless
she also took $500,000 from her partner that people like brought up in this episode and that previous.
Johnny did that too, and nobody ever said boo about it.
Right, but she also makes a thing like Devin points out, like he just doesn't like her either. Like there's just a thing where she is just not a likable thing. Johnny is likable, and so like you get away with things when you're likable or not likable. Like Johnny tries to be friends with everyone, and she tries to not be friends with anyone, and that's part of this show. I think honestly, like. That's the thing about Josh and why we really like Josh. Because you're supposed to like Josh because he's supposed to be likable. Like Josh seems like someone, if there's anybody on this show that's on the current season that I actually think might come on here, it's him. I'm just saying, like, if I were actually to throw it, I've invited him on and, I haven't heard anything, but it just, you never know. Like if I met him, I would be like, hey, we do a podcast. I would be more shocked if he said, no, I wouldn't give you 5 minutes. Like he might even say it's just 5 minutes or something, but he's a nice guy.
I think he's a genuinely good dude. Yeah.
He means well. He definitely means well. And he used to get a little bit emotional in the past. And, he still does, but not to the degree he used to. Right. He's been able to pull it in check.
And he totally pegged it. He totally pegged Corey this episode. You're working with the rookies.
Yeah.
And he got it.
He won Big Brother. And, I have not watched Big Brother beginning to end. And, but I know the idea of Big Brother, and I understand why Josh won. Like, I get it.
We're down to 9 teams.
Yeah.
I think we'll go at least one more episode before we start ranking the teams. Although the big twist at the end,
we don't actually know what's up next.
They were supposed to, the thing has been the winner of the challenge can choose their new partners, and TJ told Corey and Bettina to rejoin the group without being able to choose. And so, what's your take on that?
I mean, looking at the preview for next week, what I'm hoping, my hope and what it is my hope is that it's an every man for themselves situation where, TJ's just like, it's CT. Yeah. And that's what I was saying. CT is in the, he's in the catbird seat there. That's what I'm hoping. What I'm expecting is that he just pairs those two up, and then Tori gets the
missing?
Loser.
Yeah.
Or gets the winner of
missing somebody.
Tori.
No, somebody else is though too. Who was Amber's partner?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
So it'll be something. I feel like they're all going to end up being teams again. Although I think every man for themselves would be like amazing, because we don't really get that in this anymore. Where it's just you got to just do it and no teams and shenanigans.
I just think, and I read on a Yahoo interview with Johnny Bananas, and he said Devin was Amber's partner.
Oh, that's right.
So Devin and Tori could be paired. Johnny Bananas advocated for bring back get rid of the themes, which we've said we don't like this whole spy theme. Get rid of that and bring back Rivals, Battle of the X's, Inferno, those sorts of things.
The old school things.
They're simpler, but they're also they're more entertaining. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Like imagine,
like actual hatred.
Yeah. Cause sometimes, like imagine Nelson having to try to figure out a way to work with Fessy after Fessy snaked him last season. You know what I mean? That sort of thing.
Right. It'd be incredible.
Any of that, that sort of theme, but so that's where we're at. I think it's going to be a solo game. But it's still going to be a paired elimination.
Oh yeah, I agree. Week,
which the solo aspect favors CT, but the paired elimination does not favor him.
And we say every week our favorite still is CT. Our favorite still is CT. I don't think he's going to win it though.
I don't think he is either. I think there's too much. I don't know.
It's almost too easy of a road.
Yeah.
It's that kind of thing, where it's like, oh, I said this straight stretch, but out of nowhere, a deer just pops from behind a cactus for no reason. I don't know.
It's just that I just don't know who has, you have Kyle. We've talked about him. He's like a cockroach. He somehow is just like, at the end of the world, when nuclear winter happens, it's going to be cockroaches and Kyle Christie. And I mean that in the most complimentary way possible.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Believe me. But, and I said this last season, it could be a Corey season, but now everybody seems to be upset with Corey. So I think that, he's going to have a harder row to hoe. But yeah, it's almost, it's Butler is a 9 seed, man. It's just, I just don't know. It's just too obvious. And that's a problem for CT, because overconfidence has been his enemy at times.
But we'll move on from one of the 4 major sports to another, one of the 4 major sports. And the MLB playoffs they started this week with the wild card matchups, and the Dodgers and the Red Sox won. The Dodgers had the best of those two games with a walk-off homer by Chris Taylor against the Cardinals Wednesday night. The playoffs actually are being played right now, the divisional series as we're talking. But we just want to do a little predict the MVP of the World Series, kind of, nothing too involved. We don't need to nerd cast you or anything like that, but just our predictions for this season. I root for the Dodgers, but I'm a Pirates fan and you're an Indians fan, and
Guardians.
Guardians. I'm sorry. Guardians.
Get it
it's
right.
Official Guardians. Yeah.
It's not official until after the World Series, but yeah.
Oh, okay. So it is I am sorry. Okay. Indians. Yeah. Okay. But a Pittsburgh fan and a Cleveland fan. There we go.
Yeah.
But we'll make our predictions on this one. And which league would you want to start with first, Brenton?
I don't care.
Okay, we'll go with the National League, just because I think they actually get the better series in the National League. Giants, Dodgers, and Brewers, Braves. Do you have a prediction? We go games, I guess, would be fun. I kind of like that. So 5-game series in these divisional rounds.
The Giants have that just like this. It's just weirdly been their year.
Yeah. And nobody hit 30 home runs, but they led the National League in home runs.
Right. And you have the Dodgers, the defending world champions, also very bitter rivals right there. The Dodgers, they just seem kind of snake bit. There's injuries. There's the whole Trevor Bauer thing that's been hanging over the team for the whole season. I probably like the Giants in this series.
Okay. How many games?
We'll go 5.
Oh, nice 5-gamer. Close out at home for the Giants.
Right. And then I'll say Braves over Brewers in 4.
Okay. I'm going to go Dodgers in 4 over the Giants. I think there was this whole thing about the Dodgers couldn't catch up with the Giants all year, and they won 106 games. They set a franchise record with 106 games. Just happened that the Giants had 107. I think both teams have a lot of depth, which is important it's so weirdly important how you could see that with the Yankees, where they just didn't have any depth when they lost to the Red Sox the other day. Yeah. I think there was a thing when I was watching the Dodgers yesterday, and it took a little bit to get through it, but then 7th, 8th inning, I had a feeling. I was just like, they got this. They just, the depth, the way they can bring guys off the bench. I think the Dodgers, even without Kershaw, still having Scherzer and, leading that staff, and having Buehler, who both had like tough stretches down the end, and Urias, and a great bullpen, really, really good bullpen. I'm going to take Dodgers in 4. And Brewers Braves, I think it's like maybe the most just crazy toss up of these 4 games. I'm going to go Brewers in 5. Really good pitching. And that's where I'm going to go. I'm going to lean pitching. And then we'll move to the American League. Red Sox, Rays. The Rays are currently leading game 1. I don't know if that changes your thoughts on that. And then White Sox, Astros, and the Astros won earlier today.
I will go. I'm going to go Rays. I just feel like they've been knocking on the door for a long time, and they're that plucky small market team. In many ways, reminds me of Cleveland, which makes sense because there's a lot of Cleveland personnel down there in both the coaching staff and on the roster. So I'll go Rays, and I will go. I wish the White Sox and Astros could figure out a way for both teams to lose. But I'll go Astros because I'm sure they'll figure out a way to cheat.
And how many games for both?
I'll say 4 in each.
I'm going 4 in each too. Rays over Red Sox in 4, and some bitch Astros in 4 too. It's just the Astros are just annoying, and I hate them so much. But I feel like they're gonna pull this series out. I don't know about that. We'll move to the NL, championship series. So I have Dodgers, Brewers. I'll take this one first this time. I still think the Dodgers depth is going to carry them, go to another World Series. I think that's going to be a 5-game series. I think the Dodgers take that in 5. I think getting past the Giants is the crucial thing. I said Giants or Dodgers over Giants. I think whoever wins that goes the World Series, no matter what, on that end. And who do you have in the National League?
I have Giants and Braves, and I'll go Giants in 6.
Okay. So we at least have that same thought process of who takes that series. And then American League, we both have the same matchup. So who do you have there?
Rays in 6.
I have Rays in 5. And maybe I just have the Rays in 5 because I hate the Astros so much.
Yeah.
But I just so we both have same world, or I have the same World Series as last year. You have a new World Series with one team, Giants, Rays, and I have Dodgers, Rays. So where are you leaning for the World Series?
We'll say Rays in 6. I think this is their year.
Yeah. I am going to go back to back for Dodgers this year. And I think it's going to be Scherzer gets the MVP, which is
so that's 7. The thing though. It's
Dodgers
like
in 7.
The whole MVP thing, it's like picking MVP. You never know in a playoff series, somebody just gets hot.
Somebody just gets hot.
You have like a light hitting second baseman who somehow hits,
I'm gonna go Dodgers in 7, and I'm gonna do this thing where I go Scherzer. I think what happens, maybe Scherzer goes like games 1 and 5, and then he's just like the Warrior 7th. Yeah, he comes in like the 7th inning with the bases loaded and just says "F this." We're getting through it, and breaks his nose right before he goes out and just starts firing heat and just closes out the Rays. It wouldn't shock me if he does something like that. He's my favorite pitcher in baseball. So when he went to the Dodgers, I kind of like lost my mind a little bit because I just love that guy. So yeah.
I'm not a big fan.
You don't like Scherzer?
We pitch for the Tigers.
That's been so many years.
Those rivalries for me, man, they run deep. Like if you were ever good for a team I don't like, unless you come
my thing too is like you're at least competitive. Like the Pirates have been competitive 2 years in my entire life. So like beating the Pirates was not like something I could get mad about.
4.
I would say like legit good for 2.
Yeah.
Playoffs.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah. Legit good. Like those years where they made it in the early 2010s, like you knew they were going to lose. It was just, it was exciting.
Yeah.
So yeah, a little baseball roundup, a little charge.
Right.
King Griffey Jr.'s home run baseball.
Little baseball tonight.
Nice. God, that used to be so pumped up when you had a little highlight action.
Yeah.
That was fun.
We'll move on to pop culture potpourri, and we have not 1 but 2 trailer reactions.
Oh, I got to bring up the second one.
I just added it as we were talking.
Yeah, I was just like, how did I miss that? I was like, I literally read this over like a couple of times. What happened?
I've added a few things. So the first is the House of Dragons. It is the trailer for the spinoff of the HBO hit series Game of Thrones. And I'm gonna pull it up. Okay.
And do the thing where I have 1.
I love. Yeah, if you could. Yeah. I have subtitles. I'm at 0, but I have subtitles on my thing, and it says ominous music plays. So that's always a great sign.
I hope I get that one too.
Yeah. So House of Dragons will be, as Greg kind of sets up here, a spin-off series of Game of Thrones. It takes place before the events of Game of Thrones within the House Targaryen. If you want to get real nerdy into this, I'm pretty sure it's about when they came to Westeros to kind of take over the land and sort of forge the Iron Throne. It's a trailer. It's a series that a lot of people are waiting for, and it is the first of many announced spinoffs.
Yeah. Well, I'm at 0 too.
Okay, let's give it a 3, 2, 1. Do you have ads? Are you good?
I went through them.
Okay. So we're at 3, 2, 1, play. So we get the HBO logo here.
Yeah, a little fire.
Fire and ice. A little song of fire and ice. "200 years before Game of Thrones, the fall of the throne." Golds.
Oh, that guy.
Is that the dude that plays Ebony Maw? Because that's what his face looks
Yeah,
like. His facial
looks like it.
structure.
Oh, Mortal Kombat.
Mortal Kombat indeed. Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, not House of Dragons. Okay. 2022. Oh, it's sooner than I thought.
That's coming up. Holy smokes.
That is coming up. Okay, so I'm gonna press pause on that real quick before we go. So what did you we've talked about like both of us being kind of burnt out on Game of Thrones, and you watched, you like binged it, correct? You weren't on it from the start.
No, I wasn't on from the start. We binged it right before the final season.
Okay.
And I don't know if that made it different. It had to make it different. I didn't really like the last 3 seasons. Like, I didn't understand the hype behind it. I thought there were like good episodes throughout the last like 2 seasons. The last season was just a garbage fire the entire way. But
it's I don't think it's any coincidence that those were the seasons that there weren't books for.
Right. No, so. And I knew that going in.
Yeah.
So maybe that was part of it too. I don't know, but it's
does this trailer, and it's a minute and 18-second long trailer, does it change your level of excitement at all for House of Dragons? No, not at all.
I feel about the same as I did.
The same.
Yeah. Not
here's and I've been beating this horse is dead, buried in the ground. Everybody's going to be hyped for the House of Dragons.
Mm-hmm.
But the better show come next year on HBO is going to be The Last of Us.
Oh, yeah.
Write it down.
What'll be annoying is the House of the Dragon, whatever. Sounds like a Double Dragon video game.
That's pretty dope, actually.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
That'd be better.
That would be sick. It will be funny is like we will probably love The Last of Us and it'll get nominated, but then Game of Thrones will win or whatever.
I don't think Game of Thrones will get nominated for anything.
Yeah, I hope you're right. There's a weird thing where like it got nominated every year, and those last few years like were bombs. Yeah, and that was weird. Yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't.
So moving on, it doesn't. Just to clarify, it doesn't change my level of excitement either. Moving on, we have another trailer reaction for I believe this is a Netflix series.
Thank you, Ray.
Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City.
Let's do it.
So we have let me know when you're. I'm sorry?
Mine is some random ad thing, but okay, I'm ready now.
All right. It's a little bit longer. This one's 2 minutes, 28 seconds.
Oh, mine's only 1 minute 47.
Oh, what do I have then? I have
I found the one you have. I'll do that.
Okay, 2 minutes, 28 seconds. Resident Evil. I got another ad.
Let me see if I have an ad too.
What is let's
sort
react
of
to this.
Resident Evil. What? Okay, there we go. Okay,
hold on. I still have an ad for Old Navy.
Ads.
Okay. Let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready.
Okay, Resident Evil. Welcome to Raccoon City, and we're gonna go 3, 2, 1. Come on, exclusively. Wait, this is in movie theaters? Welcome to Raccoon City, November 24th.
I guess it is.
Oops, I accidentally paused mine. I thought the origin of evil was Mike Myers. Okay.
Yeah. Well, the multiverse.
Fair enough.
Claire.
Umbrella Corp.
This looks great.
Oh no. I'm not going to sleep tonight because of this.
This is like funny to me. Oh man. There just better be headshots.
Oh, there will be. Is that? I feel like you're not super confident in your movie if you're not giving us a trailer until almost a full first, like a month before. I thought this was a Netflix series, but I digress. I like the music selection. Little Four Non-Blondes.
Yeah. Yeah. That was good timing.
Where are you at?
A zombie just was eating someone's neck.
Oh, okay, you're a little bit ahead of me. I accidentally paused mine. No,
okay.
You're good. Okay. Good. What is that? What did that say? It looked like it said itchy bitch. It couldn't have said that. Ooh, with the dog.
Yeah.
Was that Post Malone?
No. Oh, maybe it could have been. Exclusively in movie theaters.
Exclusively.
All right.
Okay. Welcome to Raccoon City, November 24th.
It looks like they're paying well respect to the game.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah,
well, like the originals. Yeah, like
the original
two
games.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
It did look pretty faithful.
Games.
Yeah. That was definitely a thing.
It was a thing that happened that we watched. So
yeah.
Yep. I would say I'm not excited, but that's fine.
Not interested in
I'll watch it if it's free on TV, but I'm not going to pay a theater money to see
I'm sure it'll be on Netflix at some point. It's a Sony. Yeah. It's a Sony movie, so it'll come to Netflix because that's the official. Yeah. Speaking of Netflix, here in our pop culture potpourri, we have the Netflix series Squid Game is the most watched series in 90 countries and has been such an issue for the South Korean broadband internet services that the country of South Korea is planning litigation against the streaming giant over broadband
Sounds
issues.
About right.
Have you watched this?
Yeah, I've watched through the first 3 episodes. It's good. It's gnarly.
Yeah,
it's good. It's good.
I started the first 30 seconds of the first episode.
Yeah,
and I was like, "This looks creepy," and I paused it and Googled, "Is Squid Game scary?" And it said that it's a psychological horror. And so that I just played Tetris instead.
It's not scary in that sense. It's more of the psychological than it is the actual. Yeah, it's crazy. It'll screw with you.
Yeah, that's what I don't want.
Okay.
And my writing buddy and our sometime contributing correspondent Dallas is through 6 episodes, and he said the 6th episode made his entire body hurt. I'm like, well, guess what? I don't want any parts of this. Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage, had the biggest opening weekend of the pandemic at $90 million at North American box offices. Meanwhile, No Time to Die brought in 119 globally. However, the biggest winner was a Chinese film, The Battle of Lake Changjin, which cleaned up at the Chinese box office, making a tidy $237 million.
Jeez.
Are you going to see Bond this weekend?
I'm seeing it Friday right after work. Yeah.
Okay.
That's a movie that I always.
We'll do something. I'm not going to see it, but we'll do something. You can review it. You can do a deep dive.
Okay, I can do that.
We'll do something like that.
I'm stoked.
But Venom 2 doing very well critically. It's very similar story to the first one.
Yeah,
doing real well at the box office. Not doing so hot critically.
People love it.
Let's see here. This past week was the Tokyo Game Show, and it was virtual. Obviously, there was lots of super Japanese announcements, as you would expect from the Tokyo Game Show. There was, for that game, Final Fantasy Stranger in Paradise. It was given a March 2022 release date. That was really the only thing that we had talked about prior on the show that was really touched upon. There was 2 other main things. First of all, you had Xbox, the ex-boss, Phil Spencer. This comes by way of IGN, said that Xbox is working, quote, every single day to increase our lineup of Japanese games, ellipsis. To help bring Japanese games around the world, it's an honor to support Tokyo Game Show and our Japanese partner. We're working with Japanese publishers every single day to increase our lineup of Japanese games on Xbox. We know it's really important to fans and customers on Xbox, end quote. He said the word Japanese a lot in that quote, which was kind of weird to me. But Xbox has traditionally never done well in Japan. Japan's pretty much ruled by Sony and Nintendo, obviously. So, they're trying to crack their market, but best of luck to them. Konami, famed Japanese publisher. Some rumblings and rumors came out of TGS that Konami is working on 3 pretty storied franchises, and the biggest of their 3 intellectual properties. Word is that they're contracting outside entities and working internally as well to bring new iterations of Metal Gear, Silent Hill, and Castlevania. These are old school games. I know you're more of an old school guy. Does any of these 3 pique your interest?
Castlevania.
Yeah.
Always piques my interest.
Yeah. They just released the Castlevania Advance Collection, which is it's 3 Game Boy Advance collections all in one game for Switch and PlayStation. I might pick that up. Joker 2 could be in the works. Joaquin Phoenix is interested, but nothing is concrete as of this moment. Did you see Joker?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
Wow.
That's like the one hole in my catalog.
Yeah, seek that one out. That's a good one to watch. Yeah.
Someday I'll get to it. Lego showed off a new set today, one of the biggest in its history. The set comes in at over 9,000 pieces. It's 4.5 feet long. It is the.
Does it come with an iceberg?
It does not.
Oh, that's too bad.
No. Nor when the set is complete does it split in half and sink to the bottom of the ocean. But it's the Titanic.
Is James Cameron just like humping this box? He just can't wait to just get after it.
Can I tell you my thing about Titanic? I love Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah. Great
actor.
Yeah.
He's horrible in this movie.
This movie is a bad movie.
I won 11 Oscars.
Doesn't matter. Shape of Water won Best Picture. Just because you win things doesn't mean you're good.
This came by way of Nerdist, and it was an article that I caught right before we went live, but they're reportedly working on an Agatha Harkness spinoff over at Disney Plus. Are you interested in a Catherine Hahn led series?
Oh, I think that could be a lot of fun. I really do, actually. Her Up to Shenanigans, I think, would be actually a ton of fun.
Perhaps. Finally, and this is one that's near and dear to both of our hearts.
Yeah.
We have confirmation that we will have a new Red Hot Chili Peppers album in the coming months. They're
15 years this month since we've seen them together.
Is that accurate?
Yep.
2006.
2006.
Yeah. Over in Cleveland. This will be their first new album since reuniting with famed guitarist John Frusciante, and Rick Rubin produced this. He did not work on the last 2. The first part of their tour, I was really bummed. It's a stadium tour, and the closest stadiums to me are Detroit and Philly, because Dallas and I were going to peer pressure you to fly.
Toronto's closer. You can go to Toronto.
Is it? Are they letting
Philly? Yeah.
Are they letting Americans in?
By that time, we probably be allowed.
We'll see. Because Dallas and I were going to peer pressure you to fly and meet us to go to this.
Concert. you should. I should be peer pressuring you to come out here to beautiful California and see them.
Maybe. Are they playing out there?
They're doing San Diego and Los Angeles.
Okay.
San Diego with Haim, and then Los Angeles with the Strokes, I think.
Oh, that'd be a good one.
Or Beck. No, it's with Beck.
Wow, that's a good one too.
That's a good one too.
Yeah. They've got a lot of good opening acts on this tour.
Yeah.
Haim, St. Vincent, Beck, the Strokes.
They have St. Vincent and Fenway, and I was thinking, are they going to do an East Coast tour anyhow next year? Maybe.
Yeah.
Might make Fenway part of the list. Do a little 2-weeker where I can see Fenway as a baseball stadium, and then see St. Vincent as a closing act. That'd be fun.
They wouldn't be closing.
I mean, it's like my closing act, the Red Hot Chili Peppers and St. Vincent.
Right.
Just shut up and play the hits. Red Hot Chili Peppers. That's what I want.
I think Rick Rubin said if you like Stadium Arcadium, you're gonna like the new album.
Okay, well then
I like Stadium Arcadium.
Yeah, like that. Fine.
Yeah.
All right, that's good to know. Can't stop, addicted to the shining. All right. So we'll move on from one red hot thing to the next, hopefully hot. I don't unfortunately have this with me. I went to, combined with Janie and me, we went to 4 different places and could not track down this seemingly awesome collaboration between Pringles and Wendy's. It's their spicy hot chicken sandwich, which is both a favorite of me and Brendan.
It's my favorite.
It's your favorite sandwich.
It's my favorite fast food sandwich. Yeah.
It's up there for me. I always just say about it, and I'm fearful for the chips. I wish it could be spicier. That's my only real thing. But Brenton's giving a whiff.
Smell like Pringles.
I'll do the plate.
You'll do the play-by-play?
Every Pringles smells like Pringles.
Yeah, but like if you get like the ranch or the salt and sour cream, you get, but this smells like traditional. It doesn't smell hot.
Okay.
The slightest bit. So
what's it? How's it look? Is it coated well on both sides, or
it has
that single?
Yeah.
The Pringle problem is there's only usually one side really coated.
Right. Yeah. No, this has. It looks like some variety of spice or hot sauce, and it is on both sides.
Nice. All right.
It's going to be hard to see.
Very good. Looks like a Pringle.
Looks like a Pringle.
Once you pop, you can't stop. Let's see what happens. Brenton looks happy about this.
It's got some.
He does.
It's got some.
I like that. Damn it! I'm gonna find this. Somehow.
I'm gonna be real with you.
I had to go to Ventura County to find this.
It has the.
I'm salivating. So I'm just thinking about that damn sandwich.
See, to me, being a fat white guy, the best part of that sandwich is the abundance of mayonnaise.
Oh yeah.
And I agree with you though that the it's never spicy enough, but this is this has some heat to it.
I like heat on chip, just in general.
It's really hard to put my finger on because it's like when you have the sandwich, you get all the flavors. You get the tomato, you get the mayo, you get the the whole nine. This tastes like if you just had the chicken though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That was another thing I was concerned what direction they'd go.
I couldn't eat this entire can in one sitting because it does have some. Because of the heat.
Oh, okay.
Because of the heat.
All right. Well, I respect that.
Because it's got some kick. It's got some legitimate kick to it. I can easily eat an entire can of Pringles in one sitting. Like less than 15 minutes.
It's not a full factor. It's a heat.
Yeah, it's the heat.
Heat in the streets.
It's got some kick to it. This is a limited time, as you can see on the can here.
Very limited. I can't even get it.
It's a limited time thing. It's a limited time collab here between Wendy's and Pringle. But I'm telling you, it's not bad. It's probably not salty enough for me because that's what I really like about the traditional Pringle. But it has the heat. Like my tongue is burning right now. If it was just a touch saltier, it would be almost the perfect Pringle. But as it stands, it's very good. I'm a big fan.
Rating this bad boy.
I give it an 8.
Ooh, an 8. Makes me, maybe I'll be able to finally track it down. Who knows? Not in Santa Barbara County, apparently,
right.
But
yeah,
if I got to go south, maybe I can do my own separate review of it. Yeah. Maybe I'll just take a video review and send it to you, and I'll do a food review of it. We'll put it up for the BXG exclusive.
I'm telling you, man, it's got some heat.
I like that,
and
I love the heat.
See but yeah, it's pretty good. If you like spicy stuff, I would recommend this definitely.
All right, that is a B, not G food review.
Yeah, just the B.
Just the B.
Yeah. Media recommendations.
So I've been listening to a lot of St. Vincent after seeing her in concert. I'm pretty addicted now at this point where I'm just looking for live performances of her playing because so on her. It's amazing. She's really good. really good guitar player, like actually good, like rock. Well, look at this. So yeah, good rock music. She's got a great voice. So been really enjoying her. Because of James Bond, I've been going through the Daniel Craig James Bond movies, rewatching them. They're still great to me. I get it. Like, I get it if people don't necessarily like, they have their favorite Bond because of different reasons. And if you like Daniel Craig, it's because of the action and like the grumpiness. And I like that. I kind of like, if you're a spy and you've been doing this for like 20 years, you're probably going to be a little grumpy. So it's been a lot of fun. And then also, I've just been reading the book. This is a very light read of light reads, but it's called Happy Hour by Marlo Granados. It's these 20-year-old people living, in the city, just trying to fake it till they make it kind of thing. So if you just need a little like easy reading, if you're going through some serious things or whatever, I would recommend that. What do you have, Brandon?
So I have breaking news is what I have.
Whoa.
This comes by way of IGN. It was posted literally 6 minutes and then updated 3 minutes ago. There's 4 new official canon Star Wars novels announced for 2022. And one of them, Star Wars Shadows of the Sith, looks to give more context to the events of not just Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, but the entire sequel trilogy. There will also be Star Wars Brotherhood, which follows Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker during the height of the Clone Wars. Star Wars Stories of the Jedi and the Sith, which will be released on June 7th, 2022. It is a anthology book that tells multiple stories about Jedi and the Sith. And then finally, Star Wars Padawan, which is going to be a young adult novel written, released July 26, 2022. And it follows a young Obi-Wan Kenobi who is having a hard time in his early days as Qui-Gon Jinn's Padawan. So there's some new Star Wars books on the horizon. The headline for this article is a new Star Wars novel will once again try to make sense of Rise of Skywalker, which tells you probably everything you need to know. For me, on the media recommendation side, I've been listening to, as the news came about the new Chili Peppers thing, as I've been listening to Stadium Arcadium.
Nice.
Kind of ad nauseum. The other thing I've been listening to is Certified Lover Boy from Drake. And I have probably it's going to be a hurtful opinion for you and maybe somebody else, but I think it's a better album than Donda.
It's way different. So for me to like it's just I just don't really like Drake. So that's just that's where I'm at. It's hard for me to like Drake.
I like
if Drake. It's just Drake. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. That's fine.
I like Drake.
I understand why people like Drake. It's just he's not.
It's got good features, and
it does have good features. Yeah. He just isn't good to me.
I like Drake.
I always like whenever somebody else raps on his songs because he has good beats, but he's not my favorite. But that's like I said, that's fine. That's just the way I am.
Yeah. Still working my way through the Fast and the Furious movies for Fast and Furious Fall, which will be coming up here with our friends from Tournament Style. And I'm through the first 6, so I've got 3 to go. I've seen 7 and 8, and I was saying to somebody before, I'd seen 7 and 8 before without the context of the previous 5 movies because I'd seen the original back in the day, but I'd never seen 2 through 6. And I'm confident that they will make just as much sense.
Oh, sure, yeah,
with actually having context.
I think it's what makes these movies like what they are too. Which we'll touch on.
Well, yeah, and I won't get into it because I have a lot of thoughts on these particular films. The BXG podcast publishes every Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 a.m. Pacific Time, 4 a.m. Hawaiian time.
Aloha.
On podcast services around the globe. Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Good Pods app, Amazon, so on and so forth. You can follow us on social media at BXG Podcast on both Twitter and Instagram, at GTFills, at Y2B on Instagram, on Twitter at GTFilson, at Y2B, Facebook.com/BXG Podcast, YouTube, the YouTube channel. You search BXG Podcast for the channel over there on YouTube for the different segments, including the spicy chicken Wendy's spicy chicken sandwich review, which we'll post tomorrow. And the other thing too is Greg is going to take a week off at the end of the month. Who are you seeing in San Diego?
Dead and Company.
Okay, so he's going to be down in San Diego,
Wales Vagina,
right? San Diego, for a concert. So he's going to miss a week. So as it stands right now, we might have a guest host, or we might just do a mailbag or a hybrid of the two. So I posted it on the Instagram to solicit questions for a mailbag. You can get those into either Greg or I in person if you have some questions. But I think that that's kind of the direction that we're going to do, because I'm not going to do the challenge without you. And that is the weekend that Dune comes out. So
I could always come on maybe a quick Tuesday. You and I go through Dune.
Okay. Why don't we plan for that? But I think that the person that we had in mind to do as a guest co-host is interested in doing a Dune thing. So maybe we can do like a 3-man weave.
There we go. I'm okay with that.
We'll see about that. Tell your friends, tell your families to give us great reviews.
And your mothers too.
On podcast services, on Apple. It helps us find new audiences and helps with the algorithm and all that stuff. But you can tell your friends and you can tell your family
and your mothers
about the unmistakable essence of the BXG podcast. Take care, friends.
Thanks for listening.